This is a video by Rich Ben. Today we're working on a Saturn S series. This happens to be a 1998 model, but what we're doing today will pertain to all years, 91 to 02. What we're doing is we are replacing the starter. Now I probably get this comment at least once a week. I turn my key to the start position and nothing happens. What's the matter? Most likely it's the starter. But what you want to do is check your battery first. Now you can put your multimeter on there. Make sure you got 12 volts. Look at that, 12.60 volts. That is a perfectly charged battery. But how do we know the battery? That could be just the surface voltage. But most likely the battery is okay. Now if you have one of these, this would be even better. Load tester. Do a load test on the battery and that will positively tell you if your battery is in good condition. Now if the battery shows that it's good, now we want to see if voltage is getting down to the starter solenoid. So that's what we're going to do next. First thing we want to do is find the starter. This is where it's located, behind the engine. Now there is the starter solenoid right there. See that purple wire that runs down to the solenoid? You want to put a test light on that and make sure that the vehicle is in neutral on a standard or in park on an automatic. Turn the key to the start position and we want to see voltage at that wire. If we see voltage at that wire, then the starter most likely is bad. So we need to test that purple wire right now. Now if there was voltage at the purple wire, the starter is probably bad. So we got to remove it. The first thing we need to do is remove the negative battery cable from the battery. Now after we do that, we want to disconnect that 10 millimeter nut that you see that holds the purple wire to the starter solenoid. Now to the left of that is a 13 millimeter nut that secures the positive cable right there to the starter solenoid and the fusible link to the alternator. So we need to remove those now. Now the hardest part about removing that starter is to get at the top bolt. Now I'm going to take a piece of mirror here and put that up here so I can see the top bolt. Okay, there it is. Now on my socket here I got a piece of tape, and all that does is prevent the bolt from falling on top of the starter. Okay, there we go, we're on it. So we don't need the mirror up there anymore. Let's take that socket off there. We're keeping pressure on the bolt. And we're going to keep turning and turning and turning. It's a long bolt. Okay, she feels like she's out now. So we'll retract our extension, and there is the bolt. See how the tape just held it right in there? Well, that was the toughest one right there. Now for the bottom bolt, that's 13 millimeter also. Okay. You'll have to hold the starter up with one hand and remove the bolt with your other. This is a fairly long bolt also. See the size of that? Okay. Now, there should be nothing holding the starter in. Just pull it back and drop it right down from underneath. There's the starter. It's all out. Now here's an alternative to using the top starter bolt. What you can do is take this piece right here, which is an intake manifold stud and nut. Now what you do is take the nut off, and you can drive it in by this end right here. Now it takes a E socket. Now the smallest E socket I have is a E8, and you can see it just misses. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a 5 millimeter socket. Look at how tight that fits on there. So that's how we're going to put that stud in. Alright, let's put that stud in. We'll go all the way till the threads stop right there. And now we will tighten that up. Okay, there it is. Alright, let's put our starter in. There we go. We felt it go on the stud. And we'll work with the bottom bolt. And what we'll do is go all the way in by hand to hold the starter in place. I'll rock it a little bit. There we go. Now we'll take that nut and we'll put that in our socket with the tape like that. And we don't even need a mirror on this. We can probably find it right off. Okay, I can feel it with my finger. Alright, I lined it up. And the nut is started. If you want to use the mirror, you can. Alright, that will stay up there. Get our ratchet. Okay, nice and tight. Now what happened to my socket? You're not supposed to do that. Oh, I got an impact. See, I got an impact socket on this extension. It's a positive. It stays on positive only if it's in a certain position like that, which I didn't have. Alright, now let's tighten this bottom bolt. Alright, look at that. That went pretty smooth. Now when you put your positive cable on, make sure it's just like this. There's a little boss right here on the solenoid, and the cable has to be just like that. Make sure that the fusible link is the same way. And another problem you can run into is the wire on the solenoid, the purple wire. If I can show you that. See that right there? It has to be in between those two raised lugs right there. So make sure your cables are like that. All our cables are back on the starter. So now we can put the negative battery cable back on the battery. And the next time we turn the key to the start position, we should hear the pleasant sound of the starter turning the engine over. And if that's what you heard, well then you successfully diagnosed and replaced your starter. So that's all there is to replacing a starter motor on your Saturn S series.